Welcome to Forbidden Planet TV. I'm Andrew Sumner, and I'm here with an old friend of Forbidden Planet, RamV. How you doing, mate?
Good. It's good to be back on. Thanks for having me.
Well, it's good to have you back on, especially when you're talking about your Vault Comics book, Radio Apocalypse. What can you tell me about what you're trying to achieve with this book, mate?
Yeah, it's an interesting experiment with the comics medium. It's based on an idea I had long before I had published my first comic. I actually remember the first time I ever spoke to Kieran Gillen was about making a comic based off of music and something that I wanted to pull music into. And it's great to be able to sort of execute that and put it out and have people experience it finally. Radio Apocalypse, to put it very simply, is a story of the last functioning radio station on the planet, set in a post-apocalyptic setting. And it has all the familiar things you would expect from that. The world is dying and people live in these secluded settlements, and life is hard. But we choose to focus on this one radio station standing in Bakerstown, and we choose to focus on the lives of 4 or 5 people who run the place and the radio station on a day-to-day basis. On a philosophical level, it's about the power of music and art and how it is intensely intertwined with our need to find beauty and hope, even at the bleakest of times. I thought I was going to have a hard time explaining why I was doing that when we first started making this book. But then the pandemic hit, and the first thing people did when they went into lockdown is they walked out into their balconies and started singing to each other. And I was like, yes, this is exactly what Radio Apocalypse is.
Yeah, I think that's beautifully put. I used to write about music, and I'm always fascinated with people talking about human beings. Relationship with music and the arts in times of adversity, and you're absolutely right. It's not just a narrative trope. It's something that genuinely happens in our society. I take it, because I think this jumps off the page, that music has always been a key part of your life.
Yeah. I mean, I've written so many creator-owned books that are based off of music nowadays. It's not even a secret. Like it's very obviously there. Music as this overt influence on art. I think the way I experience any kind of art, I think, involves some measure of synesthesia, in that music always evokes these like images in my head, or words for me evoke a tone and a tenor of music that I would like to listen to when I'm reading it. So I kind of wanted to transmit a little bit of that experience to people through this kind of comic. If that makes sense.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And your collaborator on this book is Anand Radhakrishnan, right?
Yeah. That's
And
right.
what the right was me making sure I was saying the name properly, because I've only said it in my head before.
Yeah.
But what can you tell me about your creative process together?
I mean, I've worked with Anand now on 3 books. Our first book was Graffiti's Wall, which had a hip hop influence. Our second book was Blue and Green, the Eisner winning Blue and Green, which had a very overt jazz influence. And now this third book is essentially influenced by me going, oh, what would I put on a mixtape if the world were to end 2 weeks from now? And so I think music has been a part of both of our sort of creative language for quite some time. And collaborations just get easier and more intuitive as you continue working on books. So I just keep, basically this whole comic is an exercise in me sending on a script and going like, you should read this script while you're listening to this track. Except we've found a way to do that in the comic.
Yeah. I mean, that's the beautiful soft spot to be in, right? So if you were going to if somebody's tuning in and they've not picked the book up yet, what impression would you leave them with as to why you think they should give it a go?
It will as an exercise in understanding reading comics, it will make you see that comics is about more than what's on the page. The experience of listening to something while you're reading a comic can add and become part of the reading experience of a book. So that's the formalist in me speaking. And then the narrative, on the narrative side, if you've ever wondered why human beings feel so interconnected, why the experience of being a human living in a society is necessarily one of coexistence. And if you've ever wondered about the experience of broadcasting your ideas, your desires, your love into the unknown, hoping that someone else will pick it up, this comic is for you.
Mate, I think that is a beautiful summation of what you guys are achieving with this book. And what I love about your career is the fact that you're able to stand in so many different camps. You know, I mean, the versatility with which you code switch from superheroes to doing something more profound and personal, I just think is a wonderful thing to behold. And it's funny, when I was preparing for this conversation, I was looking back on some of your books that I've got, and I was thinking, man, you know, you're the breadth of what you do is really impressive.
Yeah, I get pigeonholed very often as a horror writer. I'm like, no, I've written science fiction, I've written music related human drama, I've written magic realism. I sort of believe that good stories work regardless of where you put them. And once you have an understanding of why a story works and what is that part of the story that hits at the core of being human and why human beings enjoy stories, you can pretty much write in any genre as long as you've made yourself familiar with that genre, if you will. And so, yeah, I've been a voracious reader ever since I was a kid. So the genres that I've worked in are all intensely familiar to me, and so it just becomes a matter of going like, okay, at its core, my story works, so it will work regardless of what genre I decide to put it in.
Well said, man. That's spot on, and I'm here to tell you as part of the reading experience, that's absolutely what you're delivering, and you guys, Ian and Anand, are particularly delivering this book, which is Radio Apocalypse, which you can order the issue 1 and all copies of from the links attached to this conversation. Thank you for joining me, mate.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
If you're enjoying watching Forbidden Planet TV and you're enjoying watching us talk to the world's most interesting and accomplished filmmakers, authors, artists, musicians, creators, subscribe right here. See you soon.